So the second objective for my presentation, you asked for the development of a nutrition education program. So, I conducted some research, and I felt that a senior program would be an applicable program for this region. So my talk is entitled the Central Sierra Region Healthy Aging Senior Nutrition Program. So I wanted to start out with this slide because we have to think about the continuum of aging well and how seniors get to become seniors. And so lifelong habits for successful aging, involve personal decisions and values and how you manage your time and what you do with it. So these are things that we generally don't address, but nutrition health, so choosing nutrient-dense foods and eating enough fruits and vegetables, water, fat intake, around cardiovascular disease, and adequate fiber, and then physical health, so physical activity throughout the lifespan, and emotional well-being. Yes, we do address this with the gardening program and food preservation. It not only addresses nutritional health, but it also does address emotional well-being. The community coming together to preserve things and garden and creates a space for reducing stress and relaxation and social health. And then, of course, stress busters at the top. So this is the aging pyramid. About relaxation and meditation and how to integrate. So the current research, this is always interesting to me so this is the percentage of the population that is either good, needs improvement, or in poor health. Ages 65 to 64, 65 to 74, 75 to 84, and then 85 plus. So this is from the Center for Nutrition Policy and Promotion. And what you'll notice is that for 45 to 64, that less are doing well than in the 65 range. Right? This is statistically significant. So fewer 45 to 64-year-olds are doing well, and more of them are doing poorly than when you hit 65. So there's some research that shows that, the folks that weren't doing well here, passed away. So there's few of them. And the ones that were doing well here, in this group, increased the group norm. So that the healthier individuals survived and the ones that weren't doing well didn't. And then it stays pretty consistent for 65 on. So there are some opportunities here. We are addressing this population with family nutrition somewhat, but this could also be a target population for the senior program or the advancing seniors. But when you get to 65, this is actually a teachable moment or around the period of retirement, right? Because life changes, perspective changes, time management changes. And so this teachable moment really should be taken advantage of with the nutrition program. So there are some issues with nutritional status, of course, with the senior population. Poverty, poverty, of course, is a big one, and isolated poverty is even more extreme. And in these rural areas, we have seniors that aren't yet in the retired living situation that are, basically living in poverty and can't afford transportation to get anywhere, to get access to services. So this is one of the primary issues, poverty, living alone in a rural area that we need to address. And then, of course, medications, inability to consume enough food. And food access, I should add security here, is a huge issue for seniors. When I was working at the California Farmers Market Consortium, the senior nutrition program, talk about taking advantage of a program. Those seniors were out there, and for every dollar and for every market match dollar and for every nutrition incentive they could get, and they would come out, and if you didn't have the vouchers, if the market didn't have the vouchers, the seniors would get, upset. It affected their nutrient intake. So they're an underserved population with relationship to this. And then, of course, their daily activities, which we need to conduct formative research on these issues. You know, what are their daily activities? How are they able to function? And how can we overcome some of these issues with poverty and isolation? So, again, the aging and nutritional factors. So the functional capacity declines, and there's changes in absorption of nutrients and chronic disease, and all of these various factors: psychological, sociological, environmental, and socioeconomic factors. So it's a big issue to address. It can't just be kind of thrown out there as we now have a senior program and this is how we're going to conduct it. There actually needs to be quite a bit of work around it before it's implemented. But there's an opportunity with this. If they have the time and impetus, we target them right, target them at the right age, the right opportunity, and create the right environment, that it can be lasting and sustained change. And that we can provide the resources they need for free. So these seniors that are underserved and don't have enough money, actually there's very few free resources that address the core problem that they need to address, which is the nutrition problem. So in developing a senior nutrition program, I would focus on individual and family changes. That would be the effectiveness, getting groups of seniors together to for nutrition education and food preservation along those lines, so direct services. Conduct formative research, so conduct some focus groups and surveys and really define a program that fits the region, that's effective in implementation, because that's the key. I mean, the nutrition educator is back there. You can create a program and then you get out there and there's only one participant. It's like,
well, never happens.
So, that's what we want to overcome. The dedicated and educated staff. So it might be that we have one nutrition educator that focuses on the senior project, and that's what they do. So they understand it, they know it well, so they can implement it effectively. And effective outreach. So develop a program whereby we know how to also reach out to the seniors and ensure that they understand what's available to them. And then collaborate with partners, whether it be some of the senior centers or our formative research would educate us and help inform us which collaborations are most important. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, here's a question.
What in your vision would this program focus on? What would you want to target as a behavior change?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I'd like to remain open to let some of the formative research tell me. I mean, that's just like if I was asked, if I did get this position, I would do a needs assessment first. I mean, sure, there's a continuation of and I think that's good, the continuate program.
So how will you know from the formative research when you see something that needs, I mean, what are you going to base that on?
Well, I mean, conducting focus groups and surveys?
Yeah, what are you going to look for in those focus groups and surveys?
Oh, well, nutrition-related behaviors, dietary behaviors, and evidence around senior health to define where there are gaps in their services, issues related to the food environment, and then, of course, address some of these other issues like traveling and poverty.
So it's mainly the environmental types of things then?
Yes, well, yes. I mean, the education tools that UCC provides, to my awareness, there might be different ones, are really around nutrition education. I don't think they address any of the issues with medication or healthcare or mobility. So it would have to, I would focus on that. Whether it's cooking classes, and cooking skills, reskilling the community, it might be, addressing some of that. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So, how would you plan to effectively outreach to these senior facilities and connect with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. Outreach is always an interesting beast to tackle, but it's really, I would work with the senior centers, say for example if it is a senior center, to, the traditional things, flyers, and I don't know if would be effective. Some of them it might be, actually, others it might not be. posters, but also connecting with the registered dietitians that are there, connecting with the managers and CEOs and making sure that I understand how outreach is most effective for the seniors. And it could be mailings. There are many different ways to do it. I found that even, a poster in a senior center, one poster in a senior center can get around like wildfire. I mean, it's just a matter of knowing where to do it and how to do it.
I have a question. On the data that you should show, you say that the recommendation will be to outreach the base range or age of the population that we like to outreach is 45 to 64. But the senior serve, there's normally in the population that they serve is 64 or older.
Right.
So how do you think that we can be able to outreach this specific range or age that is not necessarily covered for the senior center?
Right, okay, so what I mentioned was that at 65 is a teachable moment. Actually, in the launch student lane through senior years, that the 65 to 74 is really kind of our target.
Oh, okay.
Because when we get to 75 and over, we start having issues with complications from disease and mobility and all kinds of, so they can end up, a higher percentage of the population is under care. But the precursor to that was that the 45 to 65-year-old that we can start thinking long-term about how to address this problem. Now, obviously, there's a need here in the 45 to 64-year-old family population. And how do we start to, I would like to think, how can we start to address that need before it becomes a huge problem in our seniors? But that would be a separate question. I was really kind of bringing it up as, how are we really serving this community aside? I mean, we're serving the school community, and so we are serving families. But is there something else here that needs to be addressed before they get to the senior level? And so that's just really my way of thinking and what I might want to look into in the next few years. But in relationship to the senior program, I would target 65. So they can implement some of these changes before, well, first of all, when they need it as they're entering their senior years, and before they really have complications that prevent them from having the power to make changes for themselves.
So I think that, actually you already answered one of my questions, but as far as trying to pull together a focus group, the folks who are at the senior center got there. So they have transportation, and they're not our isolated population that's actually hard to outreach to. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
So actually, I was looking for some other ideas perhaps on how you might get information to those folks, where they might frequent, that we would have an opportunity for engaging them.
Oh, sure.
And then, is it the population that is actually working, or are they already isolated?
Okay,
So
so
they're not necessarily, it's more difficult to reach them.
it's more difficult to reach them. So it could be anything close to town that they generally, where there's a community board, and direct mailings. Direct mailings are actually really pretty highly effective in that group because that mail is their only kind of consistent communication with the outside world, and they do receive mail for free. So mailing, but with regard to the focus group, I would actually conduct a focus group with them. I'm sure I conduct a focus group at the senior center, and I'm sure I could get quite a few seniors to participate. But the focus groups would be with the isolated rural seniors in their communities. And so basically you travel out to that community. If there's just you can even do it at somebody's house. But if there's a small venue you can use, and you provide dinner, and you can even provide a little bit of travel funds if they need it. I mean, these people are literally, half a tank of gas can make a difference. So that's where I do the focus group, in addition to the senior centers, and to start to define how to conduct the outreach and how to better serve them. And would they be, and would they be interested in something that was internet-based? Is that possible? You know, it might or might not be possible. It might just be nutrition educators, and direct services. But that's where I would focus my time.
Let's cut it off here. Let's take 5. And we'll have about an hour and a half for the rest of this. So let's take 5. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
You guys feel free to grab